Hello, my name is Russell Fegley, and welcome to this presentation. Today we're going to be going over a process model diagram for ordering an exotic coffee at Starbucks. Before we begin looking at the diagram, I first want to go over the methods that were used to gather data for the process model. The method that I used to gather data was a observation-based discovery method. This consisted of two parts. First part, I use a active customer role tactic to trigger the start of the process for ordering a coffee. The advantages of using this method is that it provides an understanding of the boundaries of the process and when the process is handed off to another department or role. The disadvantage of this method is that you can only see the parts that require interaction with the customer. The example that I listed here was that I walked into Starbucks and ordered a coffee. The second part of the observation discovery method is the passive observer, where the analyst would observe the worker while the process is being executed. The advantages of this is that it shows the reality of the process. And the disadvantage of this is that if a worker knows that they're being observed, they might act differently and they may not follow the normal process. An example that I listed here is that I watched other customer experiences while they ordered coffee. With the observation method, I was able to collect enough data and organize it in a way that would help develop a process diagram. These are the 5 stages of a process modeling method. Identify process boundaries, identify activities and events, identify resources and handovers, identify control flow, and identify additional elements. The process boundaries are the beginning and the end points of the process. So the process trigger is the customer stands in line to place the order, and the process end is the customer receives their coffee order. The activities and events that take place in the process order is that the customer is greeted, the customer places their order, and the cashier receives or collects the customer payment. Now the barista, they receive the print label from the order, they prepare the customer's coffee, announce the completion of the order, drop off the order to the pickup counter. Now there's 2 resources here. The cashier is one resource and the barista is the second resource. And the handovers from the cashier to the barista would be the cashier has completed the customer transaction, they have received their complete order. And the barista, their handoff to the customer is that when they have completed making the coffee and have placed the coffee on the pickup counter. Some of the control flows for the diagram is that whether the purchase was placed in store or was it an online placed order. If the order was placed in store, the process flow would continue with the cashier to place the order and place the payment to the cashier. And if the order was placed online, then the transaction and the order have already been completed and the drink label was already printed out for the barista. And the additional elements here would be, was the order placed through the mobile app? Now let's take a look at the process flow diagram. I've listed 3 swim lanes, one for the customer, one for the purchase order, and one for the coffee prep. And we have 2 sub-swim lanes, one for the cashier and one for the barista. Now I placed the starting point of this process diagram as the customer enters the line to order their coffee. However, if the customer had ordered their coffee online, generally the drink would already be being prepared before the customer enters the store. However, to condense the diagram and to show a single process flow, I have added a XOR split to show the online order. Now, when the customer enters the store, the cashier would greet the customer and the cashier would confirm whether the order was placed in store or online. If the order was placed online, then the drink label would have already been printed for the barista. If the order was placed in store, then the cashier will receive the customer order and collect the customer payment, which just would then print the drink label for the barista. And then the barista would prepare the customer's order, perform QA on the drink to clean up any spills, announce the name of the coffee order, and deliver the coffee to the pickup counter for the customer. which then the customer would retrieve the coffee from the pickup counter. My closing questions for you are, have you experienced a different process flow while ordering an exotic coffee from Starbucks? And do you think an observation-based discovery method can provide enough detail to accurately map a process flow for ordering an exotic coffee at Starbucks? Thank you again for listening to this presentation, and I look forward to talking to you in the discussion board thread.